Linda and I went from school uniforms to wedding dresses. But on the eve of our wedding, she died unexpectedly. I cried so hard I nearly fainted, and then something strange happened. I started seeing subtitles floating in front of me. Can someone tell the male lead of this sad story? She's just faking her death? Turns out, Linda's lover bolted when he found out she was getting married. So, she faked her death one night and ran off overseas to chase after him while I was crying by her grave, and her lover was crying in bed. Unfortunately, when she came back, faking her death, I had no idea. I was actually overjoyed to marry her. 2 weeks later, news broke everywhere in City A that I was getting engaged to the Prince of City J. Linda's friend, who was in on it with her, rushed over to confront me. Linda just died. How can you be moving on so quickly? She's gone, right? I can't mourn her forever, right? When the subtitles kept coming, I thought I was hallucinating from grief. But they wouldn't stop. They were saying if the male lead went to the rooftop now, he'd find out the female lead wasn't dead at all. I've eaten little for 2 days because of her. Every step was hard, and they expected me to go to the rooftop. Dragging myself like my legs were filled with lead, I made my way up. Just when I was a few steps away, I heard that familiar voice with a teasing tone. Is my funeral over already? It was coming from Linda's best friend Molly's phone. Not yet, Linda. How about George? Did he notice anything? Not at all, they're all running around. Nearly fainted yesterday from grief, probably still crying in his room now. Linda casually said, take care of him for me. Another friend Stella chimed in. Linda, you must really be into that lover of yours, going as far as to fake your death and follow him to the UK, getting us involved in your drama. The subtitles were true. My grip on the stair railing tightened as every cell in my body trembled. Linda's voice continued. Don't worry about whether I have feelings for him. Just keep him in the dark. Molly asked, are you still going to marry? Of course, when I come back, our wedding will go on. But before that, can't I just go crazy for love for once? They all giggled like they shared some secret. My blood turned to ice. I had prayed so many times that Linda would somehow still be alive, but never imagined it'd be like this. I didn't confront them. Instead, I turned around and quietly walked back down the stairs. After retching in the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. Days without sleep, eyes bloodshot, looking worn out. I splashed water on my face, wiping away the tear tracks. Leaving the room, Molly handed me some tissues, showing mock concern as she said, don't be too sad. Linda wouldn't want to see you like this. I looked at her fake heavy expression. Do you think Linda might not be dead? Molly's expression faltered for half a second before she regained her composure. Wah! What do you mean? You saw her clothes and shoes were already retrieved from the river. A week ago, Linda drove off-road at night and plunged into a river. The police said she was swept away by the currents trying to escape her car. I stayed by the river all night, sleepless. The rescue team found only her coat and shoes after days of searching. I was so consumed by grief, I nearly fainted. Today was supposed to be our wedding day. I cried so hard looking at our photos together that my head throbbed. Now, they tell me it was all a ploy. My sorrow was just a joke from start to finish. The heroine of a tragic story pretending to die for love, chasing a fantasy abroad. Through more subtitles, I got details about Linda's lover's social media. He had been around me several times before, unnoticed. A small-time influencer from Linda's media company named William. His latest video showed London's scenery, tightly held hands, a dust-settled hug. I knew that small mole on the back of a hand all too well. The caption read, in the purest love year, she left her family-appropriate fiancé, crossing over 10,000 kilometers to find me. The wind from City A indeed reached London. The video went viral, with comments awash with awe at such a beautiful love story. I knew this plot line. The protagonist thinks their love funding them actually only loves themselves. The paper engagement serves only as fuel to chase after true love. But Linda and I weren't a setup. We met in high school. My parents had already chosen Helen, the heiress of the Greens from City J, as my intended partner. But I refused to marry her. My parents married for practical reasons, and I watched them play happy in public but brought different partners home when they were apart. When together, they just argued and pointed fingers. I was sick of fake and broken family dynamics, so I was against arranged marriages. Then Linda transferred and became my classmate in my junior year. She came into my life like a cheerful kitten when I was at my lowest. Her confession was naturally accepted. We went from school uniforms to a planned wedding. We even gave speeches at my old school not too long ago. People envied us as a perfect couple. A sweet story from school brought into the real world. I thought I'd found true love, living in a bubble of admiration, without realizing she had been secretly seeing someone else. The guy in the video called her darling, and Linda was by his side filming trendy hand gestures. Her face wasn't visible, but she clearly enjoyed it. Her so-called business trips included this boy every time. All those nights I thought she was working late, she was with him in that soft nest. Once I suggested she take it easy. She said, "I want your parents to respect me. I want to make more money to give you a wedding everyone will be envious of." In the last 5 minutes before the incident, Linda sent me a text saying, "Whatever happens, Linda will always love you forever." That text tore me apart each time I read it, but now it felt like a bubble, shattered. The female lead had even prepared a fake death explanation. She was swept away and picked up by a family downstream, suffering from amnesia. The real twist was the male lead believed it and married her, leading to a lifetime of pain, eventually succumbing to an end of heartache, and the cycle of forgiving Linda continued forever. I came downstairs. Linda's mom was sitting on the couch in the living room. As soon as she saw me, she glared at me with her red, swollen eyes from crying. She accused me if you hadn't kept pushing my daughter to come back, she wouldn't have driven into the river. You're the reason she's dead. Linda was on a business trip. The day after the accident was the day we planned to try on wedding dresses. She drove into the river at night. When I first heard Linda had died, I fought back my grief to comfort her mom. But she shoved me away, crying, "It's all because of you. You brought bad luck and killed my daughter." I never got along with Linda's mom. Before the accident, Linda had promised me that we wouldn't live with her mom after we got married. But lately, I've just been letting her take out her anger on me because I felt guilty. Now watching her clutch Linda's black and white photo made me think she looked like a clown, and without meaning to, I chuckled. She exploded, "What are you laughing at?" and charged at me, wanting to slap me. Stella hurried over to calm things down. "Calm down, ma'am. George is just overwhelmed with grief. It's affecting his mental state. Please don't take it to heart." Molly added, "You should apologize to your future mother-in-law." I slowly walked over to Linda's mother. Thinking I was going to comfort her, she turned away with disdain. "No matter what you say, I'll never forgive you. You're not even married yet. Don't even think about getting a share of her inheritance." But I just leaned down. I whispered in her ear, "Your daughter deserved it. When are you going to join her, you old hag?" She clutched her chest in anger and fell back onto the couch. The relatives rushed over, all crowding around Linda's mom. Pointing her trembling finger at me, she cried, "He really is the one who got my daughter killed. Molly, call the police and have him arrested." The mom really lost it. No wonder she could raise such a lousy daughter. If she dislikes me so much, I guess I have to move out. Don't say things in anger. I said, "All right, no more fuss. My staying here only makes things harder for her. I've decided to move out." Molly and Stella exchanged a glance, clearly caught off guard by the situation. Molly went to the corner to message Linda. Linda said, "That's just how my mom is. It wasn't easy for her to raise me. Tell George to give her a break." "But your mom keeps cursing him. He's insisting on moving out. Let him then. It's nothing a word from me can't fix later." "Okay, then I won't push it." I couldn't hear their conversation, but the subtitles told me what they said. I packed up my stuff from the bedroom. Billy called the moving company for me. "George, are you sure you're okay?" he asked cautiously. "I'm fine," I shook my head. "I just want to quickly find a place and move out." He suddenly remembered something. "My sister has an apartment. She's been abroad and hasn't lived there for ages. You can stay there for a while until you find something suitable." The chat got busy all of a sudden. "An antagonist? Helen?" I don't even have her contact info, just an old chat app account from middle school. Her account seems hacked since there's a spam link sent every couple of months. I've ignored them to avoid viruses and set it to do not disturb. So I also missed the message she sent a week ago. Need help? The news about Linda's accident spread all over City A the night the rescue team was working hard. A video of me crying during an interview went viral on TikTok. People felt for me and mourned Linda's untimely death. Helen's message was sent on that day. Not seeing it, I hadn't replied. Thinking it over, I politely responded, "No thanks, but I appreciate it." She replied instantly, "Okay." I remembered the day Linda confessed to me. She asked me to meet her by the woods near the school, and it was a windy day. When I pushed my hair out of my face, I saw Helen on the school building. She stood at the end of the corridor, hands casually on the railing, with a calm look. I glanced at her and then looked down. When I smiled and told Linda, "Okay," she kissed my cheek. By the time I looked up again, the girl in the corridor had disappeared. Only the branches were swaying hard in the wind. Back to the present. I'd almost finished packing up my things. A photo of me and Linda was knocked over. I stepped over it in heels, and the frame shattered into a million pieces. Even if she's not dead, she's dead to me now. I walked out of the Pei family home as Linda's mom continued to curse me from behind. "You better never come back to visit my daughter." "Stop saying such things." Stella and Molly walked me to the door. "Let us know if you need anything." "No need. I want to be alone." "Honestly, man, maybe you're right. Who knows, Linda could still be alive. They haven't found her body yet. Maybe we'll hear good news." Molly added, "Probably the girl is afraid the guy will harm himself after moving out. So she's getting her friends to give him hope. Actually, I own a few properties, but they're all rented out. I can't just kick people out because I need a place. So I accepted Billy's offer and temporarily moved my things to an empty villa called the Greens. When Billy handed me the keys, I asked, "Your sister won't suddenly come back, right?" "No, I asked her recently. She said she doesn't plan on coming back anytime soon. Even if she does, she rarely stays there. She goes back to the family house, so don't worry about it." I slept through 2 days and nights, and my eyes finally weren't swollen anymore. That evening, Billy invited me to a bar for a drink. After a few drinks, I saw Molly and the others. I didn't want to greet them, so I turned my head to avoid being seen. From the corner of my eye, I saw her take a photo of me and send it to Linda. Linda ran into George at the bar. "Should I go see if he's okay? What I did was wrong, he's been through a lot." Molly put her phone down and headed over to me. Midway, Linda messaged again. "Forget it, don't make things worse. Let him feel my absence. When I come back to life, he'll appreciate me more, won't he?" "Yeah, I guess so. Linda, you know a lot. Can you keep an eye on him for me at the bar? It's crowded, and I don't want him getting into any trouble." Stella sighed. "When will I ever meet a boyfriend like George, who's so passionate, handsome, and from a good family? I'd die for that." Molly shot her a look. "You could always try to steal Linda's guy now." "No way," I chuckled. "Linda would kill me if I did." Over the years with Linda, some of her friends tried to secretly hit on me. When Linda found out, she completely cut ties with them. But that cheap possessiveness doesn't equal loyalty. Lately, I've been watching her videos a lot. It's like using a tiny knife to carve Linda out of my heart. It hurts, but it's effective. Sadness gets replaced by disgust. Now, when I look at those lovey-dovey videos of us, I'm mostly just relieved I survived it. "So, you love having everyone witness your happiness, huh? Well, I guess I should help fulfill that wish." I sent her account details to a media friend. "I've got a big scoop. Interested?" I had a few too many drinks at the bar. By the time I got home, it was late at night. The alcohol fogged my brain, so I didn't notice the subtle changes in the house. Dizzy, I went up to the second floor. After cleaning up, I was exhausted. I didn't bother turning on the light when I opened the bedroom door. I just slipped under the covers. But they were warmer than expected. I reached out and touched a soft, warm body, hearing a woman's muffled grunt. Startled, I sat up, but the woman pinned my hands to the bed first. "Who?" There was a click, and the light turned on. My eyes squinted against the brightness, taking in the sight of a pale, porcelain-like female body. A man blinked as he recognized me, pausing with a heavy gaze. George? Took me 2 seconds to connect the woman with the young Helen I once knew. The grip on my wrist eased up instantly. Helen pulled the thin sheet over herself. As she got out of bed, I noticed her slightly red earlobes. I had taken a wrong turn before, but this room was always locked. When it didn't open, I knew I was in the wrong place. But tonight, the room wasn't locked, so I came in without thinking. Billy let me crash here. I'm not that familiar with the place yet and walked into the wrong room. Helen turned to look at me. Her shirt was haphazardly buttoned at the bottom, revealing her pale collarbone and a deep cleavage. Her gaze landed coolly on me. You can stay. I'll move back to the old house. Her eyes showed no emotion, and learning that I was staying here, her first reaction was to leave. Lock me up? That's not her style. You don't need to go back. It's late, and this is your home after all. Linda paused. Did I wake you? Sorry, I'll head back to my room. When I woke up the next day, I thought maybe she had left, but I found her sitting at the dining table, glancing up at me, mourning. The youthful face of Helen I remembered merged with the beautiful, mature woman sitting before me. Facing her gaze, I stepped out. Mourning? Are you Helen? She smiled. You recognized me last night, but not today? Sorry, she said. I thought you were a burglar last night. My ears got a bit warm. Want some milk? Helen asked. Sure, I replied, feeling my face heat up a little. She handed me a warmed-up bottle of milk and passed me a croissant from the table. The assistant accidentally bought an extra breakfast. Thanks. I'll be staying here for now. There's a new project nearby. But if it's a bother, I don't mind. This is your home too, and I'll move when I find a suitable place. I told Billy about Helen's return. He replied, that's on me. I didn't even know my sister was back in the country. Last month I asked her when she'd return, and she said it wouldn't be until the new year. No worries, just wanted to confirm. Billy added, Grandpa mentioned a new project nearby, but it was my sister who volunteered for it. That's why she ended up staying at your place. My birthday is the day after tomorrow. I had planned with Linda to go to the Maldives for our honeymoon and celebrate my birthday. Now that's all scrapped. My mom called, we're hosting a birthday party for you at our hotel. Make sure you come. They never liked me and Linda as a couple. When they learned she left the country, they just deposited a big chunk of money in my account to comfort me. Straightforward. Simple. Hanging up, I saw Helen sent a friend request. I accepted it. Her profile picture was a crescent moon against a deep night sky. It looked like a tear in the darkness. Scrolling through, most of her posts were work-related. Occasionally, there were posts about skydiving or gliding. Back in high school, way more guys chased after Helen than after Linda. It reminded me of my flirtatious dad, always surrounded by admirers. After Linda confessed her feelings to me, I rarely saw Helen on campus. I heard she transferred to the international section and applied to foreign universities. I was relieved then. Once Linda and I started dating, the idea of a marriage of convenience dissolved naturally. On my birthday, a city gathered its elite for the event. I played a piece on the violin, and applause filled the room at the end. Is that the young Booth? He looks like a movie star. He could totally be in showbiz. But I heard his fiancée just passed away recently. So, how come he looks so composed? After stepping off stage, I spotted Molly in the crowd. I hadn't sent her an invite, so I wondered how she got in. She scratched her head. When we were sorting through Linda's stuff yesterday, we found she prepared a birthday gift for you. Thought I'd hand it over. She handed me an exquisitely wrapped gift box, with a little card attached. To my love, George. Though the handwriting wasn't Linda's. Got it. Just leave it over there, I said. I subtly looked away and didn't respond, just pointing her to an area stacked with countless gifts. Molly paused. Aren't you going to open them? There's too many gifts to open. Seeing me walk away, she reported back to Linda. Linda, it seems like George isn't interested in your gift. Linda replied, Are you nuts? George is sentimental. If he opens it and gets emotional, he might cry in front of everyone, and that'd be awkward. Molly, okay, you know him best. Molly, but I heard the dinner is just a cover for George's birthday party. It's actually a chance for his family to find him a marriage partner. Linda, you should come back early. There are tons of eligible bachelors here. Linda, that's nonsense. He hates arranged marriages. No amount of candidates will change that. Linda, I'll be back at the end of the month. The person I'm with is too clingy. I can't leave early. The room was bustling, and many people came over to wish me a happy birthday. My mom, sounding serious. You know, you're our only beloved son. The company will surely be yours to manage one day. She linked arms with me and guided me somewhere. Dear, Helen's finally back. I know you don't like her much, but what about Linda's family? Me. If she's okay with it, I am too. I agreed so smoothly that it surprised my mom, who was being cautious. I admit my previous thoughts were a bit naive. Emotions change quickly, but interests remain. My privileged life over the past 20-some years relies on the stability of the Chi family's century-old foundation. But the Booth's business has faced challenges from new competitors these last couple of years. Projects that used to be a given were snagged by others. For strategic alliances, the Greens are the best choice. As for feelings and love, not as important. In the distance, Helen was in a perfectly tailored dress, looking every bit the elegant young lady. Her grandmother was beside her, saying something, and then the two of them headed my way. She smiled at me. Happy birthday, George. We clinked glasses, thanks. After the initial pleasantries between families, Helen's grandma said with a cheerful smile, you two young folks should chat more. In the hotel's rooftop garden, just Helen and I, we talked about the idea of marriage. She said, if you're not keen on this, you don't have to agree. Oh really? If he doesn't agree, someone might end up losing it tonight. Exactly. I won't mention who cried for 3 days and nights in high school after the Lord accepted someone else's confession. I felt my heart skip a bit. Then I smiled at her and offered my hand. No, I'm on board. Let's work well together. She looked down and took my hand, then gently pulled me closer. Clicking sounds of camera shutters echoed. I heard her whisper in my ear, to collaborate means being close. I was stunned for a moment, then wrapped my arm around her waist. The muscles at her side tensed momentarily as I nuzzled into her chest. The image was captured. The families promptly decided on our engagement. That night, the photo was all over the headlines. The engagement ceremony followed soon after. After, I ran into Molly and Stella. Both looked unhappy. As soon as I appeared, they charged up like they were seeking justice. Molly frowned and asked, George, Linda just passed away, and you're already rushing to find someone else? I found it amusing. She's gone. Should I mourn forever? Actually, she's not. Stuttering, Stella wanted to reveal the truth, but Molly tugged her arm. But it's too soon. Don't you owe her that? And just now, the police reported that Linda might still be alive. Pause. I interrupted her. Footsteps approached. Helen walked over with security in tow. Is there an issue? Stella, with an obsequious grin. No problem, just here to congratulate you. Let's leave. Do you think she knows something? Molly, we need to call Linda. Tell her to get back here quickly. If they go through with the wedding, it'll be too late. Stella, go ahead. I can't handle trouble with the Greens. While you were talking, I saw Helen's dad looking at us. He looked like he could kill. That night, news of our engagement quickly spread through a city, even trending online. Far in Europe, Linda saw the news. In the picture, George had his arm affectionately around Helen. Their eyes meeting like sparks flew. She sat up abruptly, pushing William off her side. William, what's with the big move? I'm going back home. Didn't you say you'd stay a few more days? Eager to jump into the marriage trap? If I don't, my man will be tying the knot with someone else. Linda kept packing her bags, concluding the relationship soon enough. William huffed. The news says he's engaged. Maybe he wasn't that in love with you. What makes you think coming back will change anything? Linda didn't bother explaining. You don't get it, he needs me. William's good for fun and excitement, but not marriage. I'm coming back with you. William said, don't worry. It's not to hang on to you. I recently gained 1 million followers, and there's a dating show in China inviting me. I might become a big star." She emphasized the dating show part, hoping to stir Linda up. But Linda wasn't listening. "Sounds good." She quickly finished packing, bought a ticket, and headed to the airport. On the way, she figured something out. George probably thinks she's dead, so he agreed to his family's plan. With that realization, she felt relieved. While talking with Molly on the phone, she said, "What's the rush? If he realizes I'm alive, you bet he'd drop the engagement in a heartbeat." "Really, Linda? That Helen, I didn't like her back in high school. When George and I were dating, I often caught her giving me the creepiest looks. Do you think if I crash their wedding, it'll make her the laughingstock of the town?" But she couldn't even wait until their wedding day. As soon as the plane landed, she couldn't wait to call George. Just hearing her voice would make him cancel everything. "Hey, George." But the voice that replied was an automated one. "The number you dialed is no longer in service." That electronic voice filled her with a panic she couldn't shake. News of their engagement spread all over a city, but the details were kept secret. She scoured the internet but couldn't find where the wedding was happening. With time running out, she finally pulled some strings and got the exact location on the morning of the wedding. On her way there, Linda kept rehearsing what she'd say when she crashed the wedding. Thinking of the chaos, the trending hashtags, and maybe even going viral made her heart race. Maybe she'd even get a chance to live stream and sell some products. Stopped by security at the door, Linda yelled shamelessly, "I'm George's fiancée. Let me in." The initially stern guard smirked. "Everyone here knows today's Helen and George's big day. Where'd you escape from? Some asylum?" Linda's face turned bright red. She sat on the curb under the scorching sun, finally waiting it out until the ceremony ended. The chapel doors opened, and the groom walked out in a white tux, looking even more stunning than she imagined. But the woman by his side, she was everything wrong in Linda's eyes. That should have been her standing with him. From a distance, she waved frantically, trying to get his attention. "George! George!" Her voice drowned in the crowd noise. George turned back as he got in the car and glanced her way. If he saw her, she was sure he'd stop at nothing to be with her. But his gaze was indifferent as it passed her before getting into the car. He must have not seen her, absolutely. Even if they get married, they can still divorce. No biggie. An unloving marriage is no match for the love of one's life rising from the ashes. Thinking this made her calmer. When she got home, Linda's mom rushed to her with tears. "Did you see the news? That rascal George got hitched to someone else. Didn't I warn you? He always seemed like a wanderer. He didn't know I was alive. If he knew, he'd divorce for me." With that, she shook her mom's hand off. "Remove those black and white photos of me from the living room. They're too gloomy." She opened the door to her bedroom, startled by the wreckage before her. George's favorite photo frame was shattered on the floor. The picture wall ripped apart, their shared memories split in half. Furious, she called her mom up. "Mom, are you insane? You drive George away and wreck all our photos because of some grudge? I swear I didn't do this. That boy's responsible. I wouldn't waste time on childish acts." "Don't lie. Look at all his faces scribbled out. Like he'd just do that himself. Can you stop being so mean?" Fuming, she said, "You should go back home. I shouldn't have brought you here. Maybe he wouldn't have rushed into marriage if you just left him alone." On the wedding day, I did see Linda. She seemed certain I would abandon everything for her. In the rearview mirror, I saw her trying to chase the car, calling my name, only to be pinned down by security. Helen noticed. "What are you looking at?" "Clown," I chuckled. She caught my gaze, her lips curling into a gentle smile. "Don't just fixate on the clown. Pay attention to me too." The night fell on our wedding day. Helen was in high spirits. Plenty of drinks, slightly tipsy as she entered. She loosened a few buttons and lay on the bed. Her curves moved gracefully with her breath, setting quite a scene. The sight quickened my heartbeat. She lay still, too drunk for anything serious, I thought. I rose to get my sleepwear for a shower. But as I passed, she grabbed my wrist. She pulled me down on top of her. "Where you off to?" "Shower." "Mind if I kiss you?" I murmured. She nodded and drew me close. Our lips touched, and before I knew it, she'd flipped it on me. From a gentle peck to an intense kiss, she took all the air I had. Feeling her against my chest, I protested slightly, "Helen, I need a shower first." All right, she let me go. The next day, I woke up, back turned to her. Her arm draped over my waist, and I could feel her calm breathing on my back. My mind wandered, and my cheeks went a bit hot. Helen rescheduled a bunch of commitments and took me abroad for our honeymoon. Away from a city, those past worries faded away. Good scenery, healing everything. Initially, I would often wake up in sweat from nightmares. I couldn't help it, bit out of control. But later, the dreams stopped haunting me. Her kisses got bolder, her way to lull me to sleep, more creative. Back home, I was a hot topic again, as expected. A guy moves on to someone new as his fiancée's body grows cold. A shame, rumor said. Word is, she didn't die. Was taken in by a family downriver. But by return, he'd moved on. The online critics quickly voiced my seemingly fleeting heart. I reached to contact a media friend, ready to release some dirt I'd held onto. The trending list, gone in seconds. Search tags led nowhere. Helen worked quicker than me. Public opinion soon calmed. 2 days later, saw Linda outside my office. She'd lost weight, cheeks hollow, looking more worn out than I'd ever seen her. The instant our eyes met, tears welled up in hers. "George, it's me, Linda." I had a blank expression. She seemed surprised, but still choked up as she spoke. "Yes, I'm not dead. I've just been. You were just washed downstream and picked up by a family. Then you lost your memory, right? Isn't that what you were gonna say?" I finished her thought. She was stunned and asked, "Since you knew, why didn't you come looking for me?" She got emotional. "Do you know what people are saying about you now? They say you found someone new when I was barely gone, and they're all cursing you. Do you know that? But it doesn't matter. I know your family pressured you. You can divorce her and we can get married right away. Okay?" No. I took 2 steps back. "Are you addicted to pretending to be in love now? Is faking death and running overseas for a fling fun to you?" Linda's eyes went wide in disbelief, her voice trembling. What? How do you know? Was it Molly or Stella who told you?" "Yeah, I should thank them. At first, I didn't believe it. Then they told me about your new flings account. I've seen your videos. You two are really something." "George, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong." Regret filled her eyes, and she looked like she wanted to kneel before me. Helen stepped out of the Bentley. She'd been picking me up from work every day lately. I walked over, putting my arm around her. "This person is bugging me. So annoying." The woman bypassed Linda, grabbing my hand and pulling me behind her. "Who are you? And what do you want with my husband?" That moment cut Linda deeply. Her face filled with anger. Her knees wobbled as if she wanted to kneel. "I'm Linda, his ex-fiancée." Helen smirked. "Oh, if I remember right, didn't you die? What's left of you was soaking in the river for so long. Still not puffed up." Linda clenched her fist. "What are you so pleased about? You guys are only married for convenience." Convenience worked pretty well. It allowed me to marry him. Why not? Helen sneered. "And who do you think you are? What can you do other than make him cry?" Linda raised her fist, but before it could reach me, the Green's bodyguards restrained her. I looked at her, only mild disgust in my eyes. "Please don't show up in front of me again. I find it distasteful." Later that night, Helen, who usually had a strong sense of service, was unusually out of control in bed. "Why do you call me honey?" in front of her, but never privately. "Yeah, why? Because you never said you wanted to hear it." "I want to hear it. Honey." Her affection overflowed from her eyes. "I'm better than her, more obedient. Choose me, won't you?" I lost count of how many times I said yes. Meanwhile, a fuming Linda confronted Molly and Stella. She started hurling insults at them. Molly and Stella, fed up, retorted, "Why are you going nuts here? Haven't we cooperated enough with you? We almost got in trouble with the Greens because of you. Instead of gratitude, we get scolded out of nowhere. You messed up on your own, don't blame us. I even stood up for you at their engagement party." Then Linda got a call from William. Piercing cry came through, "What do we do? My account got exposed. I told you to delete the videos, didn't I? I did hide them all, but someone recorded them, and now the reality show wants me to pay a penalty. I'll lose all my earnings from the past few months. Can you help me with some money?" No money. If it weren't for those pointless videos, I wouldn't have lost him. Eventually, Linda's company went bankrupt. Her prior reckless spending left her with nothing to bounce back with. Her little fling's dream of stardom also crashed. The whole internet knew he was a homewrecker and blasted him for it. Astute netizens pieced the puzzle together from the videos. They matched Linda and her backer, uncovering the whole story. From then on, Linda's name became synonymous with jerk. Even passing dogs pucker their lips at her mention. One night after a job hunt failure, Linda walked disheartened by the river. Suddenly, fireworks exploded across the sky. For a moment, she felt hope spark at the display's beauty. But then the fireworks spelled out a message. "George, happy first wedding anniversary." Hearing that, Linda felt fire burn her inside out, tears rolling down her cheeks. She climbed over the barrier and jumped into the dark river, but didn't die. Someone fished her out. She left a city like a stray dog, returning home to a lifeless existence, mooching off her parents. She locked herself away, not seeing anyone. Afterward, Linda disappeared from the bullet screens. I didn't know her whereabouts and didn't care. The only person I cared about was Helen. People told me she cried 3 nights straight when I accepted her confession. Took 2 years of marriage before I completely gave my heart to her. Helen was patient and gradually pieced back together my shattered heart through our everyday lives. For Helen, when George started to love her didn't matter. As long as she could be by his side, she was content to be his everything.